Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to learn about osmosis. Make sure to review the topics covered in the previous lessons before starting this one. We recommend watching the video lesson before doing this activity. Let's get started. Lesson 19, Osmosis. In our earlier lessons, we explored how cells interact with their environment through passive transport, diffusion, a process that moves substances across the cell membrane without using energy. One key type of passive transport is osmosis, which focuses on the movement of water. Osmosis is vital for cells to maintain balance and function properly, as it controls how water enters and leaves cells. In this lesson, we will learn what osmosis is, how it works across a partially permeable membrane, and how different solutions affect cells. First, let's take a moment to appreciate the importance of what we are learning. Understanding osmosis is crucial for many reasons. In plants, osmosis plays a vital role in maintaining turgor pressure, which helps keep cells rigid and provides support to the plant. Without turgor pressure, plants would wilt and be unable to grow upright. Osmosis is also essential for nutrient uptake in plant roots. Water moves into the root cells through osmosis, creating a pressure that pushes nutrients into the vascular tissue and transports them throughout the plant. In animals, osmosis helps regulate water balance in cells, ensuring that they maintain the right amount of water and solutes. For example, in the kidneys, osmosis helps control the concentration of urine by regulating water reabsorption. It also plays a role in digestion, where water is absorbed into the bloodstream from the digestive tract. Overall, understanding osmosis is fundamental to comprehending how living things function and interact with their environment. Let's now delve deeper into the topic by defining some important terms. The first term we need to define is the word solution. A solution is a specific type of homogeneous mixture where one substance is dissolved into another. For example, if you mix sugar and water together, the sugar molecules dissolve into the water, creating a uniform mixture where the sugar cannot be separated from the water. A solution is the same or homogeneous, meaning it has a uniform or consistent composition throughout. The next term we need to define is the word solvent. The solvent is the substance that dissolves another substance to form a solution. In the sugar and water example, water is the solvent since it dissolves the sugar. Next, we need to define the word solute. The solute is the substance that is dissolved by another substance to form a solution. In the sugar and water example, the sugar is the solute. Next, we need to define the word concentration. Concentration refers to the proportion of a substance in a specific volume or mass of another substance. For example, if you have a cup of coffee, the concentration of coffee in the cup refers to the proportion of coffee to water. Next, we need to define the word partially permeable. A partially permeable membrane is a barrier that allows certain molecules or substances to pass through while blocking others. Cell membranes are an example of a partially permeable membrane. This movement occurs until the molecules are evenly distributed or at equilibrium. Finally, we need to define the word osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules across a partially permeable membrane from a region of high water concentration to a region of lower water concentration. Essentially, osmosis is a type of diffusion, but it specifically refers to the movement of water molecules. In the next section, we will discuss how osmosis works. When water moves from a region of high water concentration to a region of lower water concentration, it is said to move down its concentration gradient. Conversely, if water moves from a region of lower water concentration to a region of higher water concentration, it is said to move against its concentration gradient. Osmosis is a passive process, meaning it does not require the input of energy. It occurs naturally and spontaneously due to the random motion of water molecules. Now that we have covered the basics of osmosis, let's examine how it works across a partially permeable membrane. When water moves across a partially permeable membrane from a region of high water concentration to a region of lower water concentration, it is called osmosis. This process continues until the concentration of water is equal on both sides of the membrane. Osmosis is important because it allows cells to maintain a balance between the concentration of water and solutes inside and outside the cell. By controlling the movement of water into and out of the cell, osmosis helps cells maintain their shape and function properly. We now have the knowledge needed to tackle some practice problems. Problem 1. If a cell is placed in a solution that has a lower concentration of solutes than the cell, what will happen to the cell? Is this solution hypertonic, isotonic, or hypotonic compared to the cell? What will happen to the cell? Gain water and shrink, B. Lose water and swell, or C. Lose water and shrink. The correct answer is B. Lose water and swell. Here is how we know. Hypotonic solutions have a lower solute concentration than the cell. So, if a cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, water will move into the cell by osmosis to balance the concentrations, causing the cell to swell. Problem 2. If a cell is placed in distilled water, what will happen to the cell? Is the distilled water hypertonic, isotonic, or hypotonic compared to the cell? What will happen to the cell? The correct answer is a gain water and swell. Here is how we know distilled water is pure water and has no solutes. So it is hypotonic compared to a typical cell. Since distilled water has a lower solute concentration than the cell, water will move into the cell by osmosis to balance the concentrations, causing the cell to swell. Problem 3. A red blood cell is placed in a solution. After a few minutes, the cell has doubled in size and has burst. What can you infer about the tonicity of the solution? Explain your reasoning. The correct answer is B. The solution was hypotonic. Here is how we know. The red blood cell swells and bursts when placed in the solution. This means that water moved into the cell by osmosis. If water moved into the cell, then the solution must have been hypotonic compared to the cell. Problem 4. A plant cell is placed in a solution. After a few hours, the cell has become very firm. What can you infer about the tonicity of the solution? Explain your reasoning. The correct answer is A. The solution was hypotonic. Here is how we know. The plant cell becomes firm when placed in the solution. This means that water moved into the cell by osmosis. If water moved into the cell, then the solution must have been hypotonic compared to the cell. If you enjoyed this lesson, check out other videos in this unit. Thank you for watching. Until next time.